Mobili. Top 10 two-stroke motorcycles ever built. Now sadly consigned to history, at least for road bikes, the two-stroke has a distinguished history. When the Japanese introduced two-stroke technology to motorcycle Grand Prix racing in the early 1960s, few had an idea how dominant the tech would become in the following 40 years. In road bikes, as well, two-strokes appeared to be the perfect engine, light, simple, cheap to manufacture, and much more powerful than four-stroke counterparts. But there was one problem for a world increasingly worried about pollution. Two-strokes are very dirty engines, burning their lubricating oil along with the petrol, leading to extremely poor emissions. 10. Kawasaki H2 Mach LV, year launched, 1971. As if the 1969 Kawasaki H1 Mach 500 cubic centimeters model wasn't mad enough, one road test claimed it was only safe when parked with the engine off. Kawasaki then turned up the insanity dial with the 1971 H2 Mach LV. The bike carried a three-cylinder, 750 cubic centimeters two-stroke engine, developing 74 horsepower while weighing 452 pounds. If the handling was better than the Widowmaker Mach LLL, it was still a handful and anything but a straight line. And even doing that, it was hard to keep the front wheel on the ground. Arriving before the seminal Z1900, it was yet another nail in the coffin for the British motorcycle industry, which was still building parallel twin-engine roadsters, as it had been doing for the past 20 years. The writing was on the wall, and it was bikes such as the H2 Mach LV that were doing the writing. 9. Yamaha YZ250, year launched, 1974. The Yamaha YZ250 is one of those rare bikes on this list that continues to be in production nearly 50 years after it was originally released. The 249 cubic centimeters engine of the newest YZ250 is lightweight and small, producing a broad power band. This engine is now more efficient than ever thanks to cutting-edge technologies like the digital CDI and the power valve system, YPVS. But there is more to it than just its motor. The YZ250 has exceptional handling due to its lightweight aluminum frame and swing arm, and its front and rear hydraulic disc brakes offer outstanding control and stopping power. Both the 48mm inverted KYB front fork and the KYB rear shock with low-friction Kashima coat internals are fully adjustable, meaning it remains one of the most fun-to-ride dual sports to own in 2024. 8. Honda CR500R, year launched, 1984. Off-road motorcycling has always been where you'll find the most two-stroke engines. Even today. It's not hard to see why. Light heft and huge power are the perfect ingredients for success. When manufacturers started bolting 500 cubic centimeters two-stroke singles into their MX and Enduro bikes, fireworks were guaranteed, and Honda's 1985 CR500 was one of the most incendiary. Almost 65 horsepower on a bike weighing 238 pounds took some taming, but it also took some beating, winning the 500 cubic centimeters MX Class 8 years in a row. Honda had resisted two-stroke technology for decades, but typically, when it relented, the result was total domination. 7. Suzuki RGV250, year launched, 1988. In the late 1980s, manufacturers and customers were still aware of the advantages of a super lightweight, small displacement sports bike. And who could blame them when the result was bikes such as the RGV250? The 249 cubic centimeters, two-stroke V-twin pushed out 60 horsepower, which was plenty on a package weighing 282 pounds dry. The power band was narrow, between 8,000 and 11,000 RPM, which made it tricky, but the chassis more than made up for it, and a well-ridden RGV250 could run rings around 750 cubic centimeters and 1,000 cubic centimeter sports bikes on track. Sadly, however, the age of the two-stroke road bike was coming to an end, and a new breed of 400 cubic centimeters four-strokes were more reliable and, crucially, were easier to ride. 6. Yamaha RD500 LC, year launched, 1984. You might think that, given the name, this was merely a 500 cubic centimeters version of the successful RD350 LC. Think again. In the 1980s, manufacturers were keen to capitalize on race success by offering road-legal versions of their Grand Prix bikes to the public. Following Suzuki's RG500 and Honda's NSR 400, the Yamaha RD500 LC had a 500 cubic centimeters two-stroke V4 engine bolted into a lightweight frame and bodywork. The engine was seriously detuned from the full racing bikes, but still, 88 peaky two-stroke horsepower was more than enough to turn the hair gray, even if the Japanese had, by this time, got a handle on building frames out of more than drinking straw thickness steel tubes. 5. Suzuki RG500, year launched, 1985. There was a time when anyone could buy a 500 cubic centimeters Grand Prix bike from the factory and go racing with the stars of the day. Can you imagine doing that today? The Suzuki RG500 was also available as a road-legal bike, complete with a 95 horsepower, 4-cylinder, twin-crank square-4 two-stroke engine. The bike was light and fast, as long as you kept the engine on the boil above 5000 RPM, below which there was little power. Above it, however, and you needed to hang on, not many bikes of the time, irrespective of engine size, could match the RG500 for acceleration. At a time of stodgy and heavy sports bikes, this really was a Grand Prix bike for the road. 4. Honda NSR 250, year launched, 1985. The 1980s were a great time for race replicas, with models from Suzuki, Yamaha, Kawasaki, and this one from Honda. With only 45 horsepower and a weight of 328 pounds, it might not have sounded like the fastest road bike, but it was certainly fast enough to worry the insurance companies. The thing that really set the pulses racing of every red-blooded boy who dreamed of being a Grand Prix rider was the fact that the NSR 250 looked exactly like the bikes that were winning in the 250 cubic centimeters Grand Prix World Championship, complete with Rothman's sponsorship paint job and a single-sided swing arm. The good old days. 3. Bimota VDO Evolution, year launched, 1997. Bimota's limited edition Evolution remains to be highly sought after today. But sadly, it did more harm than good to Bimota's reputation in the late 1990s, forcing them to briefly shut down as a result of the losses accrued. It had the first, and only, 500 cubic centimeters, 90-degree V-twin two-stroke engine ever made by Bimota. The truth is that it had a lot of problems, including oil leaks, irregular transmission of power, and engine seizures. Bimota followed it up with 26 limited racers which were not permitted for use on public roads until the Evolution Corsa and the renowned Evolution was introduced in 2001. Even though it enjoys a collectible status today, the VDO Evolution will always be remembered as a terrible conclusion to a true two-stroke legend. 2. Suter MMX 500, year launched, 2017. How many enthusiasts fervently wish that Grand Prix racing hadn't abandoned two-strokes in favor of four-strokes in 2001? Even if the 125 cubic centimeters and 250 cubic centimeters classes continued with two-stroke tech for a number of years, the days of the blindingly fast two-stroke 500 cubic centimeters bikes were gone. But what if the two-stroke had remained the power unit of choice? That's what Suter asked themselves before creating the MMX 500. Suter is well known in GP circles for building some of the best chassis, but in 2017, they decided to go the whole hog and build a complete bike, albeit not for racing. The engine was a 576 cubic centimeters, twin-crank V4 developing acclaimed 195 horsepower. Weight was 280 pounds, so we'll leave it to you to imagine the performance if you can. 1. Langan TwoStroke, year launched, 2022. Today, the only two strokes to be found are fitted to MX and Enduro bikes. Although not quite. In a small workshop in northern England, a firm called Langen is hand-building utterly beautiful and exclusive motorcycles powered by a 250 cubic centimeters V-twin two-stroke engine. Pushing out 75 horsepower while weighing 251 pounds gives a power-to-weight ratio of 660 horsepower per ton. It's bristling with top-end suspension and braking components and lightweight carbon fiber, aluminum, and titanium construction. While we doubt this is the beginning of a resurgence of two-stroke motorcycles from the major manufacturers, it does rather set the heart racing.
I hope to inspire you and help you learn more about your favorite theme. Subscribe to my channel and let me know what you think.